Hello and welcome back to the Classic Chloe Show. We talk about music and its effects on every aspect of our daily lives. I'm your host, Chloe Castillo, and I have another fantastic guest for you today. Gen Z influencer, singer and songwriter, and TPUSA ambassador, my good friend Caroline Joyous. So good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
First of all, thank you so much for having me, Chloe. It's always an honor to join you. I haven't gotten to see you in so long, and so it's really, really fun to get to do this today. It doesn't only feel like a show, but it feels like catching up with a friend and getting to talk about one of my favorite things ever, music, along with how it's affecting, our fight for freedom. And I'm just so excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me, Chloe.
Well, of course, thank you so much for joining, and it's so good to see you. You know, it's been forever. You were one of my first guests when I had not this show, but when I had started just a show on my own. I remember I had a horrible internet connection. We kicked you out like 5 times at least, and you were so sweet and understanding. And I was like, this girl's so sweet. So I am really blessed with your friendship, and it's great to have you on here. So let's dive right in. Music is something that I know is a big deal for you as well. Like I said, you're a singer and songwriter. Just tell my audience about what you love to do with music. Why is it a passion of yours?
So I've grown up in church. My granddad's a pastor, and he's a musician. My parents love music. They love to sing. They're musicians. My aunts are both worship leaders. So I kind of just grew up in it. But when I was younger, I always loved music, but I did not always love lessons. Like my parents put me in piano lessons, and I hated it for years. It wasn't my teacher. It was just I did not like going to piano lessons. I was like, this is not for me. Thankfully, they made me stick to it, and I'm very, very grateful for that now. Through the years, music has always been kind of what I've come back to as a form of not only documenting life, but just a form of expression. And especially for me, more than anything, music is a form of worship. Like it feels like a direct communication, like between you and the Lord, right? And it's not just prayer, because prayer is really special, but music is special in its own thing because the Lord made music, and it's such a gift to us that we get to share it and honor and glorify the Lord through it. But also, I feel like He can speak to us in really special ways, or I know He does to me, and I'm sure to you through music too. And so, music's really special to me. I've also done some writing for a few of my friends here and there up in Nashville who aren't necessarily doing the Christian thing, but they still want to spread more wholesome music. They still want to spread, more good, family oriented, faith based country music. I think that's awesome. And so, that's kind of where my heart's at on it. But super, super passionate about it and just love what you're doing, love what you're advocating for here in that realm. I think it needs to be talked about so much more than it already is.
Well, I totally agree with you that it needs to be talked about. I mean, clearly, but I think that it is something that we kind of ignore as conservatives, especially. And this is something I talk about all the time. And some people tell me, Chloe, go easy on the conservatives here. We're all on the same team, and of course, I agree with that. But at the same time, we need to also be able to look at where we can improve ourselves in our own movement. And I think it's one of those places where it's really important that we actually see why music has the impact that it does have and why it's important for us to I hate to say infiltrate, it sounds bad, but for us to, I guess, put our values in those same areas, one of them being music. So I think it's awesome what you're doing. You have a beautiful voice and your songs are awesome. And that's so cool that you write too for other people. I love it. And that's also so important, like you were saying, writing for musicians who aren't necessarily like Christian artists, but that are singing about the values of Christians and conservatives and people who have those kind of values that want to see that kind of mentality represented in music. I think is so important. So that is amazing. I want to get your thoughts on this video. If my producer is there, we're going to just roll this clip of Zara Larson, who is a pop singer. We're kind of changing gears here from the beauty of your music to what's actually happening in the mainstream world. Zara Larson is a pop singer who recently celebrated the murder of her fan's child. So let's go ahead and roll that clip.
That is absolutely disgusting. And if you don't consider that to be pure evil, I really don't know, first of all, where your moral compass is at, but where your humanity is at. Abortion isn't supposed to be like some political issue, something on the left or the right, or something that only Christians should advocate for. Like, abortion is literally terminating the life of an innocent, unborn human being. And to have Zara Larson just out here, acting like human life doesn't even matter, because the baby, and I'm going to say baby, I'm not going to say fetus because the left loves to use that term to dehumanize. For her to act like this doesn't have value and to really make a joke out of it, that's absolutely vile, and it's nothing short of just disgusting. It's repulsive, it's sickening. And anybody that's cheering this on, it just is a reminder to us again what we're up against, and this is evil. This isn't political. There's no way around it. It's evil.
Absolutely, and, you said this isn't political, which I totally agree with. People try to say, "Oh, I don't wanna talk politics. I don't go there. I just kind of, live my life." Well, no, you can't do that at a certain point. At a certain point, you have to actually stand for good in a world that is filled with evil, and so I think that,
Mhm.
the music industry in particular really represents a lot of the evil in the world, not to just look at music and go, "Ah, it's evil." I don't believe that at all. I think that just the industry itself, though, has really, um laid a heavy hand on society on the whole with this kind of degeneracy and this ideology that is so just evil, like you said. And so I want to talk about what it is that why is the left utilizing music? Like you said, it's a form of worship, and so not to go down the route of child sacrifice and everything, but that is a thing. And I think that people absolutely, the evil forces of this world do see children as a direct, I guess, line to God, if you will. It's innocence in its purest form. And I think that, especially when it comes to the unborn, which, by the way, the fan in this clip actually wrote out in her caption here, you'll see on the screen, she actually said before, I'm glad my baby got to hear this song. So she did recognize it as a baby, which makes this even more
Mm.
violent, even more disgusting, in my opinion, that she's, seeing this as a human that she is then killed and thinks it's a funny thing to post on TikTok. This is just beyond vile. Um, with that said, though, the evil that is in this world, I think, preys on children for various reasons. And clearly, the abortion industry is a massive part of this. And the music industry has done more than a good job of making that mainstream and making it normalized in our culture. So, what do you think needs to happen to, I guess, right this wrong that the music industry has done? Do we need to have music that really, I guess, like you were saying, worship something that is greater than self? Again, God, music that just points to a love for life instead of just this absolute degeneracy. What do you think?
That's a really good question, and that's something that I've thought about a lot, especially after the Super Bowl, which I would love to hear your thoughts on. I know it was a little while ago now, but just watching the amount of support that Bad Bunny had and seeing people that I know that would consider themselves Christians to be supportive of this, then actually Googling the lyrics because I don't speak fluent Spanish and reading just this disgusting, repulsive lyrics that were being saying like to the whole country. And maybe most of us, English speakers couldn't understand it, but the second most popular language in America, as you know, is Spanish. And to know that so many young children were hearing that and it was being let into so many of our homes, that was absolutely wild to me. It was such a wake up call, and it brought me back to like, okay, the problem here, yeah, it's evil. At the end of the day, the root of all this is evil. The problem with the music industry is evil. But really and truly, I don't think this is kind of taking it a little bit of a direction, Chloe. But I don't think that any progress can be made in the music industry, culturally or politically, without strong families stepping in and saying, hey, we're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to put up with this. America is built on strong families. We're built on the family, right? And so families have to be like, you know what? We're going to turn this off. We're going to turn on the Turning Point halftime show. And maybe I didn't love everything about the Turning Point halftime show, but still to have a family friendly alternative, I think that was a great thing. And it really showed us, we looked at the Apple Music charts the next day. The number one song in the world was Kid Rock's version of Till You Can't, in which he actually shared the gospel at the end of that song, which was really cool and just showed us that the Lord can use anybody as a vessel for the kingdom, right? But at the end of the day, it all comes back to families. What are we going to allow into our homes? And you know what? If enough of us say, hey, we're not going to put up with this, then maybe the music industry will take a hint and start shifting gears. As for musicians, as for songwriters, like, absolutely, we should write worship music. Absolutely, I know you and I both love worship music, But also, we do need to have alternatives. We do need family friendly alternatives to this, super trashy, provocative music that's being shoved down our throats, that's being shoved down the throats of the next generation, that will be pushed on our children. I know you're very young, like me. I'm 19. I don't have a family. I don't have kids yet, but I know that when I do, I want them to have these alternatives to turn to. I've been rewatching The Chosen right now, and I don't know how you feel about that, but I think it's a great series. It's a beautiful presentation of Jesus and the disciples, and it really makes it all seem more real. And I think what's so cool about it is it's so well done. And I was talking to Elijah Lamb about this, and he's a Christian activist, young. You probably know who he is, and he said something that was really good. He's like, as Christians in art, whether that's music, whether that's filmmaking, whether that's, producing movies or shows, shouldn't we want to be excellent? Like, shouldn't we want to be good? And shouldn't the standard be, wow, like the Christians do it well? But unfortunately, when you look at a lot of Christian music, and I'm not trying to put it down, but just when you look at Christian music, when you look at a lot of Christian TV shows or movies, alternatives, you're like, this is cheesy. This is really not like this isn't appealing. This wouldn't be super appealing to most people, right? And I think The Chosen is an example of something that's done really well. And I think Christian music just continues to advance in different ways that I think is really really awesome. There's so much good music out there, so I'm not discrediting that. But all that to say, I think that the main thing that Christians need to do is number one, look out for ourselves, our own hearts, guard the hearts of our families, and then for those of us in these industries, in these realms to pursue excellence and to want to do things, to want our craft and our art to be done well so that Christians set the standard, you know?
All right, so I just wanted to touch on those two things that you said in your two-part answer, which was fantastic, by the way. I just think that so first of all, you're talking about how basically in order for America to prosper again, in order for the industry, the music industry in particular, to return to somewhat of sanity, the nuclear family has to be thriving again. The family, the home has to be in order. And so I totally agree with you, but I want to get your thoughts also on in order for the family to thrive, I feel like there's a lot of things coming at the family at home. Like you just said, the Super Bowl, for example, is directly affecting young kids in the home. People are being affected directly. And so it's not like a matter of we can just isolate ourselves and turn off the entire world and then the family can, regain consciousness, if you will. I feel like it's also very important for the nuclear family to regain its strength across America. Just ideally, I mean, of course, we'd like for it to be where we can just turn all this insanity off and just focus on the word and focus on our relationships with each other. But unfortunately, um, in the world we live in, we're inundated with this insanity nonstop, 24/7. So I think one of the ways that we can really um, regain strength for the nuclear family is to invest from the conservative side in art and music that actually does have the right values and that will influence families and young people from the home in the right
Mhm.
direction. So and then going on from that to also the second part of what you said, which was basically we need to be better. And I completely agree with this. We as Christians and as conservatives kind of rely on a lot, I think, oh, well, it's the alternative. So you have to love it and you have to go with this because it's the only alternative you have. And so this is,
Mhm.
we're just going to kind of halfway get this out there and this is all you've got. And I think that we've relied on the fact that we're so mad at the rest of the world to promote ourselves, if that makes sense. And I think that's really dangerous
Yeah.
because that's not gonna, last long term. Long term, you cannot have an industry that thrives just based on rejecting something else. It has to thrive on its own. And
Mhm.
so I think that you're spot on in saying that we have to strive for excellence in everything that we do as well. It can't always just be retaliation and attack, to whatever the left has produced, the latest garbage that they've thrown in our face. So, what do you think as a conservative movement, what can we do to really encourage investment in and a care for this excellence that clearly needs to happen and that needs to be cultivated in our culture when it comes to art?
I think more than anything, we can speak out. And I know that sounds like so cliche. Oh, just speak out. That's what everybody says, right? But what we're doing, what you're doing, Chloe, is so imperative, so vital, because who is facilitating these kinds of conversations? You look around and you're like, wow, hardly anyone. And that's why I so respect you stepping in and doing that. You stepped up to do that and inform people. Most people are going about their lives, and when it comes to politics, culture, music, they really are kind of choosing to be oblivious to what's going on. I get it. You don't want to focus on the darkness. You don't want to focus on evil, and we aren't supposed to focus on evil, but we are in the world and not of it, right? In the world, but not of it. So we should be affecting the world. We should be looking at, how we can change things. I think that there are primarily two different types of people in the world. There are the people who look at the world and they say, how does this affect me? And then there are people that look at the world and they say, how can I affect this? How can I affect music? How can I affect culture? How can I affect politics? How can I speak life into my family? And as Christians, I think we're supposed to be the latter. Like, we're supposed to be the people that are the most passionate, that, like I said, we're setting the standard, we're raising the bar, and we're putting our feet on the ground. So, most people are a little intimidated. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to make a family member or a friend upset. They don't want to, make a liberal professor upset, which totally understand that. But sharing the truth is more important than anything that you could lose as a result of it, right? And wouldn't you hate to get to, 20, 30 years from now and look back and be like, I could have done something. Yeah, sure, maybe it was as small as sharing Chloe's show to your friends. Maybe it was as small as, starting a conversation with someone that, might be receptive to the truth. Maybe it's as small as inviting your friend out to coffee and, being bold about your faith and being bold about your convictions. Maybe it's as small as that, but it's never really that small, because like you said, it's not all political, it's all spiritual. It may seem
Yes.
like you choosing to side, and that's not a small thing at all.
Absolutely, Caroline. So I want to get your last thoughts before we wrap up here. This has been such an awesome show, and I really appreciate you coming on. Let's just talk
Thank you.
about for a second here. Um, the youth of America. You are a Gen Z influencer, I guess I could categorize you. And you do a fantastic job, I think, really sharing the truth in the light with our generation. And for years, by the way, too. When did you start? Were you like 14 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's about when I
crazy. I
met you
remember.
too, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I know I started a few years, I think a couple years, maybe a year or so after you, and I just saw you out there, and I'm like, "Holy cow, like, this girl who's younger than me even, is just spreading so much truth and doing such a fantastic job articulating all this, and it's just such an inspiration." So, just, you're doing an awesome job out there. So, I just wanna get your thoughts, though, from that perspective of someone who really does, I guess, have the ear of Gen Z, at least the conservative ear of Gen Z. I hope more because your message is amazing. Um, what can we do as young people to really, I guess, um, be less concerned with what the world is telling us and what we're being told is cool and we have to fit in with something, and just more reliant on, I guess, focusing our heart and our mind on God? What can we do to really affect that change?
I love that. I think the number one thing is to spend time in the Word of God, but also to surround yourself with community, to surround yourself with people that are like minded. Yeah, it's important to be friends with people who you disagree with. It's important to be friends with people who, you can have conversations with, you can witness to, but more than anything, you need to have that community. I'm gonna kind of butcher this, but there's a saying that says, who you hang out with, who you surround yourself with, is who you will become. Like, you will be, if you hang out with five people that are a certain way, you will be the sixth person, right? So you want to surround yourself as well as you can, and just pray for the people, because the Lord's going to send them, um, the people that will encourage you and uplift you. My mom always says this, and I think she read it somewhere, and it's always stuck with me. Be around people who celebrate you, not just those who tolerate you. Like, choose to surround yourself with friends that are uplifting you in prayer, with friends that are encouraging you to be bolder, friends who are cheering you on, who are, sharing your posts when you post them, who are like not afraid to just be in your corner at all times. I think that's so important. And to have those friends that you can call up and you're like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Could you pray for me? Or hey, what do you think about this? Like friends that can provide you with godly counsel. That's so important. Also, mentors. Like surround yourself with people that are wiser than you and older than you and along in a different season of life. That is imperative. Like that has helped me so much. Just having people that I can go to that are like, even if they're only 9 or 10 years older than me, or maybe they're, my grandparents or my grandparents' age, that I can call up and be like, I'm not sure about this. Could you share with me, your discernment on this, your wisdom on this? What does the Bible say about this? Of course, you need to go do your own research, figure things out for yourself, seek the Lord. But having people that you can go to that they're always in your corner, they're cheering you on, they're praying for you and they're fighting for you in the spiritual realm, that to me is so key and it's essential for our generation because we get on social media and it's so easy to just be overwhelmed with this person's doing this and this person's doing this, and you feel like an outsider when you're like, wait, I want to do something different, right? So surround yourself with people that are going to cheer you on in doing that different, that are going to uplift you, and I think that's going to make the biggest difference of all.
That's such beautiful advice, Caroline. So with that, Caroline, thank you so much for joining the show. It's great to have you. I want to add actually real quickly before we wrap up here. I think that's also true again with the music, not to just hop back all the time, but it's true. Like you said, your closest five or your five closest friends rather are who you become. You'll become the sixth one. I think that's also, to say who you let yourself be influenced by, the kind of influences that you let into your heart, whether it be film, music, whatever. I think that's also kind of like those closest friends. We unfortunately do surround ourselves with these influences nonstop all the time, 24/7. And if those influences are not aligned with who we want to become, we definitely have a problem there. So, Caroline, thank you so much for joining the show. Great to have you. Where can my audience find you? And also tell them about all your latest, whatever you're up to, let them know.
Well, you can follow me everywhere at Caroline Joyous. But Chloe, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor to talk to you. This is so much fun. I'm like, please call me sometimes so we can finish this conversation off
Yes.
the show because this was so much fun. I've really enjoyed it. You are a joy to know. You are changing lives. You're speaking into hearts and lives, and it doesn't go unnoticed. God's doing great things through you. I'm so proud to know you, and thank you for having me on. Your audience is very blessed.
Oh, you're so sweet, Caroline. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Please subscribe to the Classic Chloe Show on Rumble, YouTube, and Spotify. Please also follow me at Classic Chloe on all platforms and check out Make Music Right, the organization that is doing the work to expose the music industry and actually talk about what we can do to make something better for our culture at makemusicright.com. See you next week. God bless.